Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Ambitious. I am very excited for today because you are actually, to be honest, the first person who has ever heard what I'm going to say today. And if you know me, you know that I am a strategy nerd. And because of that, I'm somebody who basically takes anything that I do, say, give as advice, have as, any advice that I give, I make into a framework. I am somebody who loves a good rinse and repeat. I love the idea of being able to understand not only what I'm doing, but also how to get the same outcome every single time. And as part of that, my brain always looks for structures and steps and systems and all of these things. And so at this point, coaching hundreds of businesses in all different industries, all different stages of business, there was something that I realized that I was kind of seeing amongst a lot of clients that I had been working with, and frankly, even peers. I would just be in rooms of entrepreneurs and I would start to discover, like, wait a second, I'm seeing this here. I'm seeing it with clients. I'm seeing it with friends. And it made me start to realize that there was something bigger here that I need to kind of unpack. And so today I'm going to teach you the framework that is the first I have ever taught this publicly in any way. I've kind of talked about this with peers behind the scenes. I've talked about it with clients behind the scenes, but I've actually never in the entirety of my business ever talked about this in the forward facing of anything that I've ever done. And so today we are going to be introducing you to the understanding as an entrepreneur of what the push-pause pattern is. And the push-pause pattern, or the 3 Ps, if you want to kind of, break it down again into its own structure, the push-pause pattern is basically a cycle and a pattern that I saw in a lot of entrepreneurs. And I think as I go through today, you're going to be like, uh-oh, that's me. And that's okay. I'm also going to give you some tools toward the end of today's episode of not only when you identify that this is you, that's good, that's helpful. It always starts, they always say tackling any goal or seeing any change always starts with awareness, right? But the thing that we want to know is also how to overcome it. So I will be giving you tools and tips on not only understanding which of the stages you might be at right now, or if you're in this pattern yourself. And I'm also going to be giving you some resources on how to kind of bounce back if you are in this pattern or currently in this flow as we stand right now. So the push-pause pattern is something you're probably very familiar with. You may have had seasons where you are like, I'm all in on the business and I'm like geared up, ready to go. I feel excited. I feel like I am just like lit up about what I'm doing in the business. And then you may also have times where you're in the business and you feel like, I just feel like I can't do anything. Like I feel like I went from 0 to 100. And I also have gone from 100, push, constantly going nonstop and getting like really good sales, really good marketing momentum. You're like, I am just killing it, to I feel like I'm not motivated for my business. I feel like I'm not excited about this. I feel like I'm losing sight of vision potentially. I feel like I'm just not lit up the way that I once was for my business. And so what I want to cover today is actually help you to understand what's happening behind the scenes that's causing those big swings. The number one thing that we see with scaling businesses that allows them to be successful is the aspect of consistency. It's the aspect of not having big swings in cash flow, big swings in effort in their marketing. Either you're super consistent in marketing or you're not posting at all. You're killing it with sales or you have no inquiries coming in. Those big swings are not something we want for you in business. We want the slow and maybe not slow, but the steady progression of sales coming in, of inquiries coming in, of marketing going out. But there is this pattern that entrepreneurs fall into. And so we're going to break down each one of the steps today. And in each one of these, I'm going to be breaking down as well symptoms that help you to understand maybe which of the following stages you might be at. And so there's 7 stages of this pattern of this cycle in total. And so the push-pause pattern, as you can probably predict, is literally named the push-pause pattern because there's 2 sides that I see with entrepreneurs. They are push, and they're go, and they're killing it in whatever they're doing. Or they have this kind of like paralyzing pause where they really start to reserve and they really start to pull back on the things that were moving the needle. And they get frustrated with themselves, right? And like myself, hey, like I'm also part of the club. This is not a matter of the fact that I've never fallen into this. This pattern was actually something that when I started to see it with clients, I started to reflect on and realize like I too have been somebody who's experienced this. So when I started to flush out, all of like what it looks like at each of the stages and all of those things, it became very apparent to me that I knew this closely because I had also been through this pattern. So I am not someone who's going to sit here and say like, I've never fallen into the swings of the highs and lows. Yes, of course I have. But the main thing here is that again, it starts with awareness, understanding what this pattern is so that you can catch yourself within it to stop it from progressing. And if you have progressed through it, I also want to give you tools that will help you to overcome it. So let's get into the steps of really understanding the kind of like core milestones of what this pattern looks like. And again, as I go through these, I want you to kind of ask yourself, do any of these resonate with me? Do I feel like any of these fit for kind of how I'm feeling right now in the business? And I want you to hold on to that because it's going to be helpful toward the end for me to give you some advice on how you can also overcome it. So stage one of the push pause pattern is what we consider to be the high. And this is really like the dopamine spike, right? So with businesses, this is really when you're landing new clients. You have so much potential with new clients coming in. You've got a lot of energy. You're very optimistic about the business. You also, at this stage, may be spending a little bit more freely and investing because you're just like so optimistic about all the opportunity in front of you. And you really have this belief that because money is coming in right now, that money's just going to kind of always come in. Like you're like, I'm not worried about the fact of not making sales because look at all the sales that are coming in right now. With this, you also find that you really are just like so in the moment. You're so excited about the sales coming in. You're so excited about the momentum happening in your world that you probably are not even necessarily future planning. You might just be really, really present in the moment. Or you are so excited by the momentum right now that you also are really future planning and not focusing on the current at all. So like you're like, oh my God, these sales are rolling in. This is amazing. What are we going to do next? And you're all about the big momentum of the next thing that's coming. Here's the thing. In this stage, the reason we call it the high is because you have a lot of new contracts coming in. You have a lot of new people signing. And so because of that, you have a lot of momentum. You have a lot of energy. And so this is the dopamine spike and the high because you're feeling the momentum of all the amazing energy happening in your world. And so this is often because you have experienced a short-term spike. And this may sometimes be connected to, even just day-to-day sales. You're having a good month. It can also be connected to the fact that maybe you did a promotion. So maybe you did a launch of a new offer. Maybe you did like a Black Friday promotion. Maybe you did something that created a surge or a new marketing tactic that you're doing or a new approach that you started to integrate. And with this, you really feel relieved, you feel satisfied, you feel energized, and you're like, okay, like I feel lit up about my business because like, look at all the things that just happened in X amount of time. Now, here's the thing. In stage one, with the high and that dopamine spike, the clients are coming in, you're investing in the business, you're seeing the big vision, you're going for big things. You're like, I am on a roll. What ends up happening is you end up, once that moment happens, you end up shifting into stage two. Stage two of the push pause pattern is what we consider to be the routine stage. This is considered to be the comfort zone. So the comfort zone is now that you've signed all these new clients and now that you're really excited about all the momentum that's happened, you start to settle into serving those clients. So you start to settle into whether you're serving them, your team is serving them. You're like, okay, I just had this really big influx of clients and I'm going to focus on getting those clients onboarded, getting them great results, getting them kind of integrated into our process. So you start to get into the routine. You start to get into the stability of serving these amazing new people who just entered your world. And because you're really focused on just taking a breather and going into the routine of clients, it often means that at this moment, when you're in that routine stage, you're often really focused on the day-to-day tasks in your business. So you kind of have pulled a little bit away from the big picture momentum and the long-term planning. And so you also, because you have a surge of clients, you're like, our cash flow is good right now, right? Like we've got lots of money coming in. We've got lots of cash flow happening. You're not worried about, I need new clients. And because of that, you stop thinking and you kind of take your eye off the prize, if you will, of getting new clients. And so with that, you don't put as much energy during the routine stage into marketing and sales. And you're in this belief that you feel really secure with the current clients that you have. And so maybe you've done like a promotion or a launch or something that basically has allowed this surge for you. And so because you have this surge, you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to take a little bit of a breather from marketing and promotions because I just did a push or I've just been super consistent that led to all these sales. So because of that, I'm going to pull back a little bit and maybe not necessarily go as hard with marketing and sales for the next little bit. So you fall into routine. And the reason that this happens, the cause of why we get into the routine stage, is because we feel this sense of security. we feel this sense of stability. And so what ends up happening is we believe, not consciously necessarily, we're not, making this as a decision, but sometimes subconsciously we believe that the current state that we're in, of the sales that just came in, the clients that are in, the clients that are happy, that this is going to last indefinitely. Like, we believe that, we've never felt better. We've never felt more secure. And so because of that, we're like, this is going to stay. This is something that I can see being a comfortable, stable reality. The problem is then that we go into routine work. And typically what this means is you start to hide, again, not consciously, but it's just kind of a pattern you go into, hence the push pause pattern. The pattern you go into is that you start to hide in the back end of the business. So you start to really get into the client delivery and the team and the systems and the community and all of the things behind the scenes for the clients, that you really take your foot off the gas when it comes to the marketing and the sales. And so this is really stage 2 is what we consider to be the routine stage. And we also would call this the comfort zone, right? So this is really that routine stage where you get super comfortable with the new clients that you just brought on, that again, you feel really excited about, you're very secure in, you feel like the business feels stable, you've got money coming in, and you're like, things are feeling good. So you're starting to settle in, right? So we had, remember the stage 1, the high, the dopamine spike, that big surge of energy. And with that, we had that big energetic surge for the business in the sense of cash flow and resources, but also for ourselves, our vision and our momentum. But then because of that, we fell into routine. After that, we have the drop, which is where we go into the comfort zone and the routine, and we start to get into the day-to-day. Now, how long these stages last, by the way, is different person to person. Some people can progress through these stages very quickly, and other people can stay stuck in these stages for an extended period of time. And the reason that I mentioned time is because of stage 3. So stage 3 is what we consider to be the reality check. And the reality check is also better known as the contract reminder, which is when you come to realize the number one conversation I have with people is they go, I have contracts that are ending soon. I have contracts coming to a close. I have contracts that are almost done. And you start to realize, wait a second, that security, that stability that I felt, I now am on edge. Now I'm worried, because you start to realize the contracts of those clients that were making you feel so stable are literally done in the next 3 to 6 months. Sometimes you have a little bit longer, but typically they were 3 or 6 month contracts. And now you're maybe 30, 60 days out and you go, oh crap, I need clients. And so stage 3 of the reality check, the contract reminder, is when you get the awareness through your client management system, through, a notification coming in, or sometimes, which is not as ideal, sometimes we get the reminders from our clients who say, hey, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be moving a different direction. And as a result, I'm going to be ending our services. So sometimes this is something that's systematic, but there's also many times where the contract reminder can also be a client who says they're ending the contract, or that they've decided that they don't want to renew, or that they're not going to continue month to month with you. And then we get hit over the head with this massive awareness of, oh crap, here's the stress, right? So we have this sudden realization that, and this kind of light that starts to come in, realizing that, oh, this current situation that I have of feeling stable with these clients, and I've got my OG clients that I've been working with forever, we start to realize, wait a second, this is going to be short-lived. Like, this is not something that I am stable in anymore. I don't feel secure any longer. And so we start to have this awareness of, oh crap, and the stress starts to pile up. Typically that stress is also paired with feelings of anxiety and really massive uncertainty when it comes to cash flow. And so we get into this panic, right? Where we start to go into, okay, well, the clients I had are either almost done with me, or they're actively telling me that they're not going to continue. Now, what am I going to do? And this is also an aspect of reflection, because at stage 3, the reality check, you're also realizing that you actually have not actively been planning for the next stage. So at this stage, there's also sometimes an aspect of guilt, of feeling like, when you have this awareness that there's not money going to be coming in, you go, oh crap, like this is on me. Like, I didn't do this. I didn't plan for this next stage. I didn't prep for the next thing that was coming up. And you feel this guilt of not, number one, maybe knowing this was going to happen, or number 2, not planning in the event that something like this did happen. And so you start to feel guilt around the procrastination. You start to feel guilt around the delay in the strategy or the effort that you've been putting in. And so oftentimes during this stage, we see one core thing. We feel the stress, we feel the anxiety. And what's the first thing that many people need to do or feel called that they need to do when they are stressed out or when they are feeling anxious is the first thing you feel called to do is to then go and do this massive big action, right? So this is a lot of times where people will go and be like, I'm going to do a flash sale. I'm going to just, lower my prices. I'm going to put a discount across everything. And I'm going to do literally anything and everything tactic wise, whether it aligns with me and my business or not, just in the effort of collecting some cash here because you're having the realization things are coming to an end. And the reason that someone is in this stage and the reason of how you get to this reality check, again, of the client canceling their contract or you getting notifications they're almost done, this happens because we assume that when we have clients, especially clients that are very, very loyal, like even for me, I've had, clients even to this day that I work with for 3 years. Like I've been working with them for a long time. But for me, I also recognize that my clients could leave me at any time. So like the idea that I'm just going to bank on those people and their payments coming in for my business, I basically bank on nothing, to be honest with you. Like I bank on partially some of the contracts we have, but even then in a scaling business, you've got failed payments and you've got all of these things, right? So for me, I really look at during the reality check, I see the fact that people really have this belief, they have this mindset that the people in their world, because they're great clients or they've been with you for a while or whatever it might be, you have this belief because they've been with you that they're going to stick around and that they're going to be around for a long time. And so that gets you into this place of, again, falling into routine. So that the only thing that really makes you wake up and change that perspective is that reality check of the client saying, hey, I'm not going to continue, or you realizing that their contract is done. And so the impact on this is that really your anxiety sets in and you're going to realize there's a massive cash flow dip or gap that is coming up on the horizon. And so this is often when, I will get, again, because so many entrepreneurs fall into this push pause pattern, is I get messages from clients who go, oh my gosh, I just realized that like I have contracts that are going to be done for clients in the next 3 months or the next 60 days or the next 30 days sometimes. And they have this, oh my gosh moment. And the thing I also want to say is this is not just when I have clients whose contracts are ending so I can't pay my bills. It has nothing to do with the fact of your sales going to zero. This can also be for a business, for example, who has, like I have businesses that I serve that do $300,000 a month. And what they'll notice is that the contracts, let's just say 12 of the clients or 15 of the clients that are causing them to have $300,000 months, they start to have this awareness of, I now realize that the contracts that I have right now, those 12 clients, are going to dip me almost $100,000 a month of cash a month. And they have team they're paying for. They may have ads they're paying for. They may have other things that they're investing into. And so it's not just this idea too of, I have, contracts coming to an end. That means I have no money. No, this can also be at a grander scale of the fact that you have a certain amount of expenses, cash flow, expectation in your business every single month. And so because of that, you need a certain amount of money to sustain that. And so when people have this awareness and this reality check, sometimes it's the fact that they can't, have any money coming in. Maybe, yes, it means you're going to zero, but it also can very much mean that you have a lot of money that your business is already bringing in per month. And you're realizing, oh my gosh, this is going to be dipping drastically and I need to turn the ship around. And so the reality check is not a fun stage because this is the stage where we realize we got work to do. Okay. So now that we know we have work to do in stage 3, we then shift into, typically seeing entrepreneurs shift into stage 4. So now that you have this reality check, right? So we have this understanding of clients are going to be coming to an end, contracts are coming to an end, the money is stopping. This is where Q stage 4, which is what we consider to be the panic stage. The panic stage is really what I would also refer to as the hustle mode that has to come in. Because when you start to have the awareness of the contracts ending, we now are like, we need to find new clients. Like I need to find clients to substitute either the people who are leaving or the cash flow that's leaving. I need to be able to have something that offsets this. And so in this stage of panic, you're really scrambling to find new clients. And so oftentimes it means that you're going to implement really quick sales strategies. You're maybe going to start doing flash sales. You're going to be doing quick discounts. You're going to be doing, quick launches, like things that are basically any last dish effort to be able to see movement. And oftentimes what I see, which is the tricky part of the stage, is I see people in an effort because they put themselves and they basically have their back against a wall. Because of this, after the fact, we start to see that they're actually using tactics that are not necessarily in line with their values. And so the hard part is when you don't have consistent cash coming in, and then all of a sudden you do need consistent cash, sometimes I see people go against what they believe in. Like they're doing promotions when they said they'd never do a promotion, or they put their offer that they said, I'm never going to discount that. And they discount their offerings. And so the tricky part is seeing how also in the panic stage of stage 4, how people respond to this. Because when your back's against the wall, that's a very important moment in your business. How you respond in moments in your business when your back is against the wall, do your values remain? Do you care about the same things, even when cash flow is tight? Do you serve your clients the same way? Do you show up the same way in marketing? Do you remain the same and consistent in who you are and what you believe and what you stand for throughout every single stage of your business, including when your back is against the wall? Now, here's the thing that I also want to note, and this is something I had as an awareness about myself. I have realized, even in the way that I have operated in the past, that I am somebody who has been a quote unquote victim or someone along for the ride of the push pause pattern. And that is because I sometimes need my back against the wall to really call me forward to do something and to change my approach. And so oftentimes when I get into these aspects of having my quote unquote back against the wall for whatever the thing might be, I realize like I don't want to be here again. I don't want to have to do a quick promotion, a last chance this, or a quick whatever. And so for me, I really think that the panic stage is a lot of awareness, because you also want to consider, are you somebody who needs your back against the wall, i.e. no contracts coming in, no sales coming in, for you to start finally realizing the impact of consistency? And the panic stage is going to do that for you. You're going to realize at the panic stage of this process that you, again, could have prevented this. And you start to ask yourself, how did I get here? How did I allow this to happen? How did I get to the point where I have no contracts, no cash, no whatever it might be? And it's a really, really important awareness. And again, there's no shame in this being you, because, hey, I've also been in the same situation. I recognize this pattern though. And so now, which again, we're going to talk about today, how to overcome this and how to be really cognizant of like what you can do moving forward. So at the panic stage, you're implementing quick sales tactics, and you're also really at this point, typically very physically and mentally exhausted because you're stressed out, you're anxious, and yet during the nerves and during the scarcity and during the pressure, you're basically being asked to perform at the highest level, because you need to perform at the highest level in order for you to be able to see sales and to get yourself out of this situation. And so even though you're physically and you're mentally exhausted, we have to basically continue to move forward because there's no other option. Like the only option in front of you right now is literally to take action. And so the thing that I will often see at the panic stage is that I see people who lower their standards. And I see people who will start letting anybody and everybody into their offerings. I see people who allow and open themselves to working up with certain types of clients just in the effort of making the sale and not really sticking to like their values and what they believe in. And I see that, people will have like leads that are not as qualified, or people that are really not an ideal candidate, and they'll start to kind of maneuver and customize and adjust to just let people in, like getting people in the front door. And so at the stage, I'm also seeing that you are constantly ruminating on expenses. You're checking your P&L, you're checking your cash flow, you're checking your bank accounts consistently, and you're aware of the fact that the numbers are dwindling. And the thing that often will happen is because we're in just such this pressure of like, I need money tomorrow, I need money tomorrow, we have the belief that if we just do something, that people will come in. But then what ends up happening is you're hustling and hustling and hustling during stage 4 of the panic stage, but the leads aren't coming in as quick as you had wanted, or you're not having like the sales that you wanted. And you're getting frustrated and even more stressed, even more panicked, because not only are you panicked about the current state of your business and where you're at, but you're also now panicked to the fact that you're trying to turn the ship around and it's not turning as quick or effortlessly as maybe you had anticipated or hoped. Now, the thing I want to say about that is that an important thing for us to recognize is that the reality of our business today is a byproduct of the last 90 days of effort. So if you are someone who's not where you want to be in your business today, it is not about what you did yesterday. It is likely not even about what you did last week or even in the last 30 days. There is a compound effect in business. And so the thing that I see is that oftentimes people want a quick tactic. They want a quick approach. They want a quick, one strategy that's going to make me a massive surge of cash flow. And do those things exist? Yes. Do you scale a business on those tactics? Absolutely not. Because that ends up being in those big swings again, right? We've got all the effort or we've got nothing. We've got all the results or we've got nothing. And that swing is a very, very stressful, overwhelming, and frankly, very intense for teams to be part of feeling this constant abundance and lack over and over and over again. And so typically the reason that we get into this stage of the panic, of the, hustle, I got to do something quick to turn this around. The reason people get here is because they lack consistent effort in marketing and lead generation, and it causes them to have very little to work with. And so it's interesting. Someone will come to me again, because people come to me in all these stages, by the way. So people will come to me in the stage of like, everything's amazing and I'm killing it. And people will also come to me in stages of like, help, and their business is up against the wall. The thing that I will say is when someone comes to me and they say, I want to make more sales, I want to have more inquiries, I want to have more this, that, or the other. One of the first things I'm going to ask them is about their consistency. Because it's often not a matter of just like the one post you put out yesterday, or the one email you wrote, or the one launch you did. Like, I want to know what you're doing every single day. And if what you're doing every single day is not consistent, and what you're doing every single day is not something that you've been doing for the last 90 days minimum, it really means that this is the trailing effect. You are where you are today because of the last 90 days of effort. And so when I talk about business coaching to people, this is why I say to them, I can help to turn things around when you're in the panic and the hustle stage. Can we give you, again, a quick tactic, a quick approach, a quick strategy? 1,000%. I have 1,000,001 of those. But that's going to create a little surge. The key thing is, what do you do after that surge? Or do we end up right back in the same seat again? And so this is often when someone asked me actually last week, because we're going into a really big promotion as we record this. So something that someone had asked me is they said, when's the ideal time for business coaching? And I said, listen, you don't necessarily need to be in a complete place and state of panic in order for you to invest in coaching. Frankly, the goal with coaching should be to develop and expand and evolve your business. And oftentimes my goal or intention would be that isn't necessarily connected to panic, right? Like we don't necessarily have to have things on fire to take action, should be the idea. But obviously I help people in fire states all the time. And so this is the reason I say that to people, and the reason that I give that advice is because if you foresee that your business in the next 30, 60, 90 days is not going in the trajectory of where you want it to go, now's the moment. Like now's the moment to do something about it. And I don't care if it's me at all. I don't care if it's me. I don't care if you go to somebody else. I don't care if you consume a course or read a book or do something. But to me, the reason that I'm so passionate about people, when you have the awareness, that's the moment. That's the moment to move. That's the moment to realize if I'm realizing something's not going the way that I want here, that is the moment that you need to move to do something differently. Because if you don't, this is what causes this panic stage to happen of stage 4. This is what causes your back against the wall. Because 90 days ago, you and I both know that you had an awareness that your goals weren't quite progressing the way you wanted, that things weren't quite happening in the timeline you wanted. But you were like, oh, I'm going to see the next 30 days through. And then 30 days passed. I'm going to see the next 60 days through, and 60 days passed. And before you know it, you've got your back against the wall, and stage 4, we're in the panic stage. And so it's really, really important. I just want to make sure that you know the results that you want are a byproduct of the last 90 days of effort, and the results you want in the future are going to greatly depend on what you're going to do in the next 30, 60, and 90 days. So when you're in stage 4, the panic stage, you are also going to experience at this stage quite a bit of burnout because you are just pushing it on all ends. You are really, really pushing to really try to execute every single strategy that you possibly could in the effort and in the intention of turning things around. So because of that, we fall into stage 5, which is what we call the crash stage. And the crash stage is cue burnout. It has arrived. So because you've been hustling and you've been trying all these tactics and you've been trying all these different strategies, you are physically and emotionally exhausted. You are just like, I am tapped and I got nothing else to give. And you're at this stage, honestly, just exhausted by the idea of more work. Any kind of amount of work at this stage, frankly, feels like unbearable. Even if you're like, I got to write an email, I got to, put up a post on social media, I have to record a podcast, whatever it might be. Anything that you basically have on your list of things that you could do to turn this, you feel is immensely overwhelming, and it just feels like moving a mountain. And often, because of the fact that you've gotten to this burnout stage of stage 5, you also are probably potentially even losing passion for your business, like wondering, like, why am I doing this? Is this the strategy? Is this the plan? Is this what I want? Do I want to live this and have this reality in my business? And you start to feel really disconnected from like why you're doing this in the first place. Is this even worth it? What do I see for my vision? And you start to question yourself and your business a lot. And at this stage, I also have seen people who've also experienced not only mental mindset things come up, but also very much physical symptoms. Like when you're at the peak of burnout and crash in your business, you feel this aspect of like insomnia. You maybe can't sleep at night. You're struggling to sleep consistently. You might have gut issues because there's just stress is making your stomach and your digestion super tight. You feel like you actually have like physical body aches, like your body is actually aching and just feeling tired. You just want to lay on the couch and do nothing. Or you might experience really consistent headaches that you just kind of can't understand or put a placement to. All of those to be connected to the physical symptoms of stress. And so we even see when people are in this stage, again, realizing that they have been go, 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 they've been trying to generate sales and they're just push, push, push. The thing we're also seeing is even if you sign a client at the stage of burnout and crash, you very rarely feel actual relief. If anything, when you sign a client, you feel like a quick 1 or 2 hours of excitement, or you feel maybe a day of excitement, but then you go back to this aspect of, okay, yeah, I signed a client, but it doesn't help me with the other 17 clients I need to sign. And so we have this place of feeling little moments of dopamine spikes, but not anything that actually sustains or lasts very long, because this is something that you're like, I need more clients, I need more clients. And so usually the thing that is the most telling of this stage is the physical symptoms. And it also is the questioning of you and the questioning of your business. The amount of times, I will be honest with you, that I have had conversations with entrepreneurs who've gotten themselves, and again, they're back against the wall and they start to wonder, like, is this for me? That can look like, is this offer even something I want? Do I even like this business? Do I even want to grow this? Do I even want to be an entrepreneur? Has come up in this stage. And the thing that I can see as a coach is the fact that this stage, when I hear those thoughts or I hear those questions, I know 9 times out of 10 that is not anything to do with the entrepreneur's actual belief system. Like, they don't actually believe that this is not for them. They don't actually believe that they're not supposed to be an entrepreneur. It's just the fact that they're so overwhelmed and they're so burnt out and their battery is so low that they can't fathom today, let alone the next 6 months, the next year, the next 3 years. The thing that I want to give you as advice, and this is what I tell my clients all the time, is when you are in these moments of being like, do I even want this business? Like, do I even like this business? Do I even want this? Do I want this offer? Do I want this team? Do I want whatever? Here's my recommendation to you. When you get into those stages, ask yourself, am I emotionally charged? i.e., does this feel like it's a heightened state of emotion? Those are not the moments that you make decisions about your business. The moments you make decisions about your business and not enjoying something, not liking something, or desiring to see a change is when I have talked to somebody who says to me 15 times over, Kate, I hate this mastermind. I hate this mastermind, or I hate my course. I hate my course, or I hate my service, my agency, whatever it is. If you tell me that on a Tuesday, then a Thursday, then during a promotion, and then randomly at 11 o'clock at night, on a random Wednesday 2 weeks later, and all of it feels consistent, and you're like, I'm just ruminating on this and I just feel like this is not it. That's more of a telling sign to me that we actually want to make changes to the business, to your offering, to your structure, more than anything else. When I hear those comments though, of the people who are like, I don't know if I love my business, especially during times when the business is in massive constraint, I'm going to be honest, it goes in one ear and out the other for me as a coach. Because the only reason that that's coming up is because you're facing adversity, you're facing pressure. You don't actually not like your business, most likely. Again, could there be an instance of your business that you want to change? It's possible. But the advice I give to people is never listen to the voice in an emotionally charged state. If you are not emotionally charged, i.e., you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix and your brain is just like ruminating on your agency, being like, I don't like this agency. I don't like this offer. I don't like this team, whatever it is. If you have that thought in a neutral state of just the day-to-day of you living and going about your life, then that is something that I would say, okay, let's investigate that. Let's dive into that. Like, I want to unpack that further. But when someone is just in this place of pressure, that's not your logical brain talking. That is you really, in the basic essence, having fight or flight, being like, get me the heck out of here. And so I tell people that's not a time where we're making that decision. This is a time where I'm happy that you shared the awareness. I'm happy that you shared the insight, but I'm going to circle back to this conversation when we're not in this place, because now is not the moment we're going to be making those changes. Because I've also seen as a coach that people, again, like I kind of act as like a parent to people's businesses. I'm like, hey, here's my advice for you. They don't always take my advice. Okay. So like, and that's okay. I encourage that. It's not a matter of like my way or the highway. It's about me being here as a consultant. And when I sometimes give advice that don't make that decision in a heightened state, I've also had people who have made that choice and they're like, Kate, I've now come back to earth, basically, in the sense of the fact that I'm not in this heightened emotional place. And I feel like I made a big mistake. Like, I feel like I really kind of want to bring that back. And I'm like, okay, great. Then like, let's do that. And so for me, I think the crash and the burnout stage, you have to be very careful. And this is why I wanted to make, first of all, I wanted to go through these patterns and the stages involved in the push pause pattern, because these stages are something that help you to know where you are and what's like basically what stage of this process you're in, or maybe that you've been experiencing or you're stuck in. And it also helps you by knowing which stage you're in to make sure that you're not falling into patterns or behaviors that are actually potentially detrimental to your business long term. This is a pattern that you can progress through and come out the other side of if we don't take the massive decisions and actions in each one of these stages that could be detrimental long term. So the reason we end up in the burnout stage, the reason that we really end up in the crash, is because we've been pushing so hard in a very short amount of time to really just see an influx of cash. And so because of that, we end up in this stage where we've just been pushing so hard, so consistently, that really we end up having a complete burnout because of just doing too much in such a short amount of time. And so because of this, when you experience burnout and when you experience the stage of like, I've been doing these strategies, I've been push, and I'm just feeling like wiped, what ends up happening and the effect of this is that you pull into what we consider to be chill mode, which is where you revert to just focusing on your clients and instead of trying to do the marketing and sales, because you are just burnt out and you can't even fathom necessarily going into more marketing and sales. You're like, I'm tapped. I did this big push. I've been hustling my butt for leads, and you're burnt out. You've got no energy. You're emotionally and physically exhausted. And from there, you're like, I'm just going to go serve my clients and go back into the back end of my business. Cue stage 6, which is our final stage, which is where we go into chill mode, better known as the rest and routine, and kind of going back to the routine return. So at this stage, you're really somebody who has gone back to focusing on current clients. You're somebody who is really low energy and you are just completely exhausted from the surge that you had to do to create all the clients that you've had. And so again, you have, now that you've gone into maybe, doing a quick tactic or you've done a quick strategy, you go into this temporary stability, this feeling of, I, in the short term, have these people in my world that are my sales, that are my basis of my revenue and of my cash. And once again, you neglect the business development. So because of that, you really start the cycle all over, which is where you go into, again, dopamine spike, happy I got these clients, I was go, and I did the big push. I burnt myself out. I'm exhausted. I'm going to chill for a second because I have cash again. And then we go right back into the cycle. And this cycle can go over and over and over again if we don't have these awarenesses. So I'm going to go over the 6 steps for you, very high level, to just as a reminder. Stage 1 of the push pause pattern is what's the high, the dopamine spike of landing new clients. Stage 2, we fall into routine stage, our comfort zone, where we start to settle into the client work of all the people that we've just signed. Stage 3, we then go into the reality check of the contract reminder of those clients. Oh, these clients are coming to an end. Got to get moving. Stage 4, we go into panic, which is the hustle mode of, okay, I gotta do something. And you go any effort in every single direction, just trying to turn the ship around. And then we have stage 5, which is the burnout, the crash of the fact that you've been push, and you've been hustling your butt off, but now you're feeling the physical and mental effects of it, where we then end up in stage 6. We need a little bit of a breather and a reset because we've pushed so hard that we just can't fathom doing anything else. So we need a little bit of a breather and we go back into chill mode, which brings us right back to the start of the cycle. So the push pause pattern, as you can tell, is something that you're probably like, oops, that's me. Been there with my marketing, been there with my sales, been there with whatever it might be. The other thing too that I will also say is like, this is not specific to a stage of business and it's not specific to an industry. This is for every single entrepreneur that I have ever helped. Again, as I said, including myself, I have fallen into these moments. And so let's just say that you are listening to this and you're like, okay, I think I'm potentially going in circles through this pattern. You might even feel like you've been in this pattern for the last 3 years. That's number 1, step 1, which is like to just get the awareness that this is where you are. But I'm going to give you some steps to take if you are somebody who recognizes that you're in this place of panic and needing more stability, and basically what I would recommend to you. So first, when your back is against the wall and you feel like you need sales tomorrow because you're like, I just can't afford to not have some sales coming in soon. First thing I want you to do is actually, and I know this is going to sound counterintuitive, but you need to take a breath. Because the amount of people that go into trying to act on something in a dysregulated state is part of the issue of why they're not able to take action effectively and why they're not able to see the needle move effectively in the thing they're looking to do. And so the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to take a step back and I want you to just take a inventory of your physical and your emotional state. So are you overwhelmed? Are you anxious? What does your mind, what does your body need right now? And so like, even for me in moments when I have anxiety, as I still do today in my business at times, I will just step back and say, okay, great. I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to have a shower. I'm going to do something to regulate my state for a second. And then I'm going to come back to this. I need an hour. And so I will never, in moments of having awareness of something I need to do or anything that feels pressure, go right headfirst into doing it. I usually want to take a step back and say, how can I regulate my state first? So I'm even approaching this task or this thing I have to do from a baseline of being calm and centered. You also then want to realize you need to pause sometimes all of the busy work to get perspective on what the plan is going to be. The amount of times that someone will have an awareness that they're in this pattern of like, oh my God, I need clients. And then they immediately go into taking action. I realize like you're not even in a place to outline a plan of action right now. And so you can also use this first pause as an aspect of reflection, right? So even for me, if I'm on my walk, I want to give you some questions I ask. Like, am I overwhelmed because of just like poor planning or poor preparation? Like, have I just been dropping the ball when it comes to preparation and planning for my business? Have I been focused on the areas that really need my attention? Have I been equally as focused on marketing and sales as I've been on client work and deliverables and supporting of our clients and our team? Am I overextending myself? Am I somebody that maybe I need a break? Am I simply in panic mode because I've ignored my marketing, or am I in panic mode because I'm just doing too much, right? In the sense of I was doing everything in the intention of all of it's going to grow my business, but maybe I've done so many things and I've just been so scattered and really went so wide with my approach that I've got no depth on anything, and my results are something to show for that, right? So I really tune into myself and say, like, is this lack of planning or is it lack of execution? Am I too focused on areas that are not important? Or is this a matter of I'm just genuinely doing too much and my attention is really scattered? And so because of that, I'm not seeing the needle move. So step one, I need you to step away from the business. It's kind of like, when someone's like frustrated in the kitchen, you're like, step away from the knife, right? It's literally the same thing with your business. Step away, get a breather. If you are feeling back against the wall, I need sales tomorrow, take a step and get your space from the business. Not a long period of time. I don't need you to take a week off. I just need you to go take an hour, go for a walk, go for a drive, go do something to change your state and use it as a moment to just reflect. Now, here's the thing with the reflection. We don't want to judge the reflection. We're not being like, oh, I didn't plan well. So like, here's what I'm going to go do to go plan it all. No, it's just an awareness. I don't need you to blame yourself. I don't need you to have the rumination on I should have this and I should have that, because all of that is really shame-based language anyways. I'm just having the awareness so I have the understanding of where I could start, in the sense of, okay, if I'm going to tackle this and see change, what could I adjust? What would need to change for me in order to see change for the business? So first, take a breath and get a little bit of space from your business. And again, this is maybe a half an hour, an hour. Just go get space. And I know you're like, Kate, everything's on fire. Why would I close my laptop? I know, but just trust me. You're going to have a heck of a lot more understanding of exactly what to do and how to do it when you're coming from a place of neutrality. Step two, I want you to identify your stage. So I am going to kind of rhyme off the high level of each one of these so you might be able to understand what stage you're at. Stage one, the dopamine spike. You've landed new clients, you feel great, but you're starting to slack on lead generation and marketing. Stage two, the comfort zone. This is where the business feels stable, you're focusing on a lot of back-end work, and lately you've been a little bit off your marketing and sales game. That's the most common, by the way. Stage three, getting contract reminders. You're starting to see that clients are starting to be done with you and are expiring soon. You're starting to feel stressed about your future revenue. Stage four, hustle mode. You're scrambling for new clients and you're using aggressive sales tactics in any way, shape, or form to help you to fill your pipeline. Stage five, we've got the burnout. You've been go, 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 and you've been using all these strategies and you're starting to feel it emotionally and mentally, and you're exhausted, and it's keeping you from the ability to generate new leads and sales. And stage six, we've got the chill mode, which is where you retreat to focusing on current clients and you are now avoiding lead generation and all the marketing because you just did a big push around it and you're burnt out. And the thought of it makes you just want to crawl into a hole. So we need to know what stage we're at, because depending on what stage we're at, we are going to need different things in order to be able to bounce back from it, right? So if we are someone, let's just say hypothetically, again, situationally, we were at the dopamine spike, right? So you've landed a bunch of clients and you're really, really excited. Well, if we know that we are checking in with ourselves and we're at the dopamine spike, we know stage two is the comfort zone. So if we're like, okay, I have to remember that even though I've had this promotion, even though I've had this sale, or even though I've had this surge of inquiries, I cannot take my foot off the gas. So what is going to be my approach that helps me to maintain that consistency? If you are somebody, for example, who's in hustle mode, maybe, and you start to realize, okay, like I am just push, quick sales, need sales tomorrow. And we know that the stage right after that is the crash and burnout. This is a good awareness for you to then say, okay, well, how am I going to prevent that from happening? And the way that you're going to prevent the burnout from happening is being really conscious about your energy and how much you push and hustle during an effort to make sales. And so we have to be very intentional about, yes, being focused on sales and marketing, but not overly pushing it. Now, we also have to look at, for example, say you have contract reminders coming up right now, and you're realizing that clients are kind of, at this place where they're almost done with you. Well, we know that the natural inclination when we have that awareness clients are done with us is that we're going to go into hustle. But we have to be aware, okay, if we're going to go into hustle, I have to do so in a way and remember that I need to focus on just sales and marketing, and I'm not using just quick tactics or, quick little strategies, regardless what they are, and I'm doing them. I'm staying true to my values. I'm staying true to what I care about, and I'm focusing on the fundamentals of what has always worked in the first place and getting back to basics. And so step three of how we're going to bounce back. So again, remember stage one, taking a breath. Stage two, really understanding what stage of this process you're at. Step three is what I consider to be stop the bleed. Your immediate goal with the business in moments like this is to stop the bleed of the fact that the business has a hole and we need to fill it immediately. that means that the only and the number one priority is just making sure that we're focusing on cash flow. So this is not a time when you realize, oh my God, I need sales tomorrow, to be like, what's the vision for the conference I want to do in 4 years? This is not the time. This is not the time where we're going to be focusing on that long-term vision of all the things that you have as ideas and creative planning and all the things you want to create. This is a matter of you focusing on what can I do to move the needle in the next 30 to 90 days. Sometimes people have as low as a week that they need to start turning things around. You also need to give yourself at this moment the ability and the permission to take a break from the intensity of work. And what I mean by that is really giving yourself the ability to realize that yes, you're going to be obviously hustling and focusing on sales, but we can't do so in such a way that we burn ourselves out, that we get to this place where we're just like, I'm going to do anything and everything, and regardless of what it takes, I'm going to do it. Yes, but that's also the fastest way to basically stop your ability to execute or to take action, because it's all not sustainable. You also might want to consider, is there something you need to delegate, or is there something you need to even potentially, which is the most hated advice that I give, is there something potentially that you need to stop doing? Like, for example, say, I'm on a podcast right now. Say you have a podcast and that podcast doesn't bring in any revenue for you. Like, it brings in no sales for you, or it's just like a passion project that you have on the side. If you want to see your business grow, now might not be the time where we just need to have the passion project of 2 episodes as our number one focus each week. That's an hour to 90 minutes, or potentially 2 hours if you're editing it. You're somebody who may need that time back. So it could be postponing things that are not needle movers, or let's just say for the podcast, it could be a matter of, I was editing it before, I'm going to delegate that editing to someone else so I can focus on where my energy or my brain, my face, my voice are needed in the business. You also may want to look at how you need to not only be strategic for the business, but also be strategic about your battery. Because for me, like in moments of like peak stress or pressure or any of those things in my business, my number one thing is like, I got to focus on sleep. Because if I don't sleep, I can't solve any of these problems because I physically have no battery to do so. And so I think in these moments, check in with yourself as well and say, okay, if I know me, what do I need to really perform? So for me, I need like a good 8 hours to be able to really perform. I can do it with less than that, but I just know that I'm not going to be as productive or efficient if that's the case. And remember, when you want to generate sales and you want to generate leads, you got to go back to basics. So many, and I mean so many businesses as they grow have this belief that the thing that's going to get them to the next level can't possibly be the thing that got them here. And in some instances, you're right? Like when I'm scaling a business that's a multiple 7-figure business, me doing every single task in the business the way I used to in the first year of business is not the way that I'm going to grow this. Like, that's not the way that this business is going to scale. But I have to also realize that there are actually fundamental things that I do, even in my business today, that move the needle. So I'll give you an example. When I, have a lot of things that are going on, and I'm looking at, offer and business development, I'm looking at team development, I'm looking at marketing development, and I'm looking at all these different things that could be options or avenues that we explore. What I start to realize is that the thing that I will tell you to this day in my business is focusing on the fundamentals. So even with all the ideas and all the progression we're doing, the things that move the needle for me, posting on Instagram every single day, done. That means that I have to make sure that that's consistent always, every single day. 2, making sure that I'm posting on social media on my stories. My stories are a key element of where people are activated by me and where people are moved by me. And so because of that, I need to make sure that I'm doing that. 3, get in the weeds with my audience. Like, I am on my live doing Q&A. I'm in my comments. I'm in my DMs. I'm doing free coaching. I'm doing literally whatever, just get in there with my audience. And then I also make sure that I have visibility, i.e., am I getting in front of new people every single day, week, month, and year? And if I'm not, I got to make sure that I'm being seen by people. Otherwise, then obviously, without being seen by people, like, no new people are going to know that I exist. So it's very simple. Like, it's not, I need a new webinar funnel and I need to start, a separate YouTube channel, and I need to, no. The things that are moving the needle in businesses typically are connected to the mastery and the consistency of the basics and the foundational elements. So that, when you're scaling a business, is the baseline. You build on top of that foundation. You don't swap the foundation. So what ends up happening is when we get really busy or when we have a lot of clients or when we're just like really in the weeds of the business, we lose sight of the core needle movers. And I've literally had moments where like, I obviously, as you guys know, went through a little bit of like a not even a little, a very big personal change this year and in the last several months actually. And because of that, I had to really remember like go back to basics. Go back and focus even when you feel like you have no energy and you've got nothing to give. Focus on the basics of what moves the needle in the business. And so that's what I did. I really focused on just what were the core elements that I could hit the wickets of every day, week, month, quarter. And that became my quote unquote to-do list or checklist each day. And the compound of that is it really starts to take change and starts to develop very quickly. You'll start to see movement very fast. Like if I'm off my consistency on social media and I get consistent again, I will literally almost instantly see an uptick in anything sales wise, inquiry wise, any of that, because it literally is just, again, that was something that was generating outcomes and results for us. So because of that, as long as I'm consistent with it, that's the key thing I got to focus on. These are the step 4, which is really a matter of you're like, okay, but Kate, I need money. What should I do? If I feel like I'm doing the consistency thing, if I'm being consistent on the core foundational elements, like what would be something that I could execute or do to start to see a change here or a surge of cash? So here's some things that I recommend to people that are basically what's considered to be like low hanging fruit. And what I mean by that is like, it's very easy to access these things and these strategies in your world. You don't need anything in order to be able to press go on them. And that's the idea. Again, keeping it simple, simplicity scales. So number 1, re-engaging old leads. The amount of people that have either consultations they've had, DM conversations they've had with people, like go through and make a list of every single person in your world that you have had an inquiry with, a conversation with, and build a list of those people. And I would literally go and I would reach out to them and invite them back into your world. And I would say, hey, Sarah, I wanted to reach out. I'm so excited to connect with you. I just literally was thinking about you because we are going to be doing something for our offer, our service, our program. And I want to connect with you and see if you were someone still who was looking for support and coaching because, and you would dive into it. So you want to make these personalized, but you really want to re-engage old leads and you want to connect about what you guys had talked about previously, what problems they were experiencing, ask them how that problem is going today, and let them know full transparently, like we're not trying to manipulate and kind of go about this in any other way other than just saying, I want to check in on that goal that we had chatted about and how you've been doing with that. The reason I ask is this is what we've got going on right now, and I'd love to see how I could support you. I would re-engage any old leads that you've had sales conversations with, both in the DMs, consultations, in any capacity, in any way. This could also be, by the way, re-engaging an email list. I have a client that does a package and pricing guide for their done for you service. They're a web design agency and they have a package and pricing guide. And so what they do is they have like basically scheduled pieces to reactivate old leads where they send out an email to that list. And then that list basically gets activated and queued to basically be like, hey, how's your goal going? Here's what we've got going on right now so that you're top of mind. Second thing is offering a limited time promotion, a limited time offering. And typically this is something we want to be just very careful about how we go about this, in the sense of like, if you are somebody who's never offered a promotion on your offer, we don't want this to be something where you like slash the prices in half or anything, but it's just something where you can use this as an opportunity to be able to reactivate people by a limited time offering. This is really effective because right now in your audience, you have people that are consuming you right now that just need some kind of offering, some kind of positioning for them to feel like they can have a reason and an urgency to move. So it's not always that people need urgency, but there are people definitely who need some kind of incentive, promotion, activation of some kind in order to be able to move. And so a limited time offer or promotion can be something that creates a very, very simple cash surge. I actually had this with another client, same thing, found herself in the push pause cycle and realized, you know what, hey, I've taken my foot off the gas in marketing and sales due to some things that came up in her life. And she really wanted to see a cash surge. So we did just that. We did a promotion and literally in 45 days did $120,000 of cash because of a promotion that she did with her email list. I've also, for example, had someone who had a course, same idea, was like, hey, I want to create a cash surge. I'm like, great. Did a promotion, did a flash sale on the course. It was like a 48-hour flash sale. And for that person's audience, it's much bigger, but they had about a $300,000 flash sale because there was a limited time offering. So all of this to say, the limited time offers and the promotions can be a great way to take the people in your world who are already considering working with you, already thinking about buying from you, They're already in this place of readiness to be able to move over the finish line. Here's the thing. Again, going back to what you've been doing for the last 90 days is going to be something that does impact any strategies we do. We want to remember when you do a limited time offer, or when you do a flash sale, or when you do a promotion, that's something that's only going to be effective and that's only going to create results for you if you already have people in your world as it stands right now who are considering working with you. If you have not been marketing, if you have not been promoting, if you have not been showing up, and then you're like, okay, like I'm going to do this flash sale, and you do the flash sale only to then realize, I don't have anybody in my audience who's wanting to work with me, the flash sale or promotion is not necessarily going to generate a lot of sales. You need to be nurturing people consistently. So you can't have disappeared from marketing for the last 6 months and then do a flash sale all of a sudden and be like, okay, this is going to get me back on track. This is something that typically we see most beneficial for people who've still been marketing, but it's just more a matter of the fact that they really want to call in some of those leads that are kind of hiding in the weeds of their audience. The third is really making sure that you're really consistent on marketing and even potentially increasing the volume at which you market. So even for me, when I go into a promotion or I go into a launch, I always am increasing marketing prior to that to basically get my audience activated and tuned in. And I'm also looking to increase visibility as much as I can. So getting in front of new audiences, could be collabing with a peer, could be going on podcasts, could be basically doing anything to get new eyes on your stuff and getting new kind of like quote unquote, I don't know why I call this, like fresh blood into your audience is basically the way that I refer it. So this is also with marketing, time to get really intentional about what you're marketing. So like when you need to create a surge of cash and a surge of sales, we want to say like, are we selling? Are we inviting? Are we posting social proof? Are we getting people in the front door and getting them moving into our world to get them inquiring with us? And the last thing that I will say is really looking at the money that's sitting right underneath your nose, which is your existing clients. And could you run, for example, a referral promotion to them to say, if you refer a friend right now, we're giving X amount? Or could you run a renewal program, which is really where like we do renewal promotions a lot in our business, which is basically where if you renew during certain moments, we have certain incentives and promotions available to clients when they renew. And so with all of these opportunities, these are basically things that are invitations. There's an invitation to re-engage old leads. You've got an invitation for your audience, which is where you're offering that limited time offer or a promotion. You've got an invitation to new audiences by getting more visibility and increasing your marketing and how much marketing you're putting out. And you've got an invitation for referrals to your clients or asking current clients to renew. And so all of these are ways to basically activate the money that is sitting right underneath your nose. And so the thing that I, really wanted to make sure that I made clear today was that if you are somebody who's in this pattern, that's okay. And it starts with awareness, but then it goes into what are we going to do about it? Okay. So this is not a shame. It's not like, oh my gosh, Kate, like I'm literally in this right now. Okay, good. We know that we're in the patterns. Like that's the first place we need to start. Now that we know we're in this pattern, ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? And I really will say the aspect in coaching, for example, we talk about and we teach people how to prevent this from happening. So I taught you today the 101 of understanding which stage you're at and why they happen. And we've also gone over, if you're in a place of needing cash surge, something that we can kind of look at as like my prescription, if you will, on how to navigate that. The third part to this, which we didn't get to today, but is something I talk a lot about in coaching, is prevention. Like this can be prevented as well. There's strategies and approaches, both personally and professionally, that will massively prevent this pattern from happening ongoing over and over and over again. And so the first step is going to start with you being aware. The second step being, if you're in this place, giving you some of those strategies to overcome this. And third, remembering that there's also an aspect of prevention here. And so if you feel that you're in this pattern, seeking out ways to prevent this is an important thing as well. So as I said earlier, the push pause pattern became something that I identified because I was coaching so many, individuals and businesses in different stages. And it became very apparent to me that there was a cycle happening. There was a pattern happening with all of these clients. And it wasn't just my feeling. There was literal stages, as we covered today, of what I was seeing people fall into. And so the mistake people make with this pattern is, number one, not even being aware that they're in it. So you're already ahead by the fact that you know what this pattern is and you know what the stages are. 2, that they don't know how to respond to it, and 3, that they don't know how to prevent it. And so you're already 2/3 of the step of the way there, which is you know how to respond in moments when you're like, okay, my back's against the wall. And now you actually know which stage you're at. So you have an awareness to keep yourself progressing through this and not needing to rinse and repeat this cycle. So I really also want to thank you guys, because I have been getting so many absolutely beautiful messages from you on Instagram. And I have to say, like, I know I probably say this every episode, but like, I just feel like I can never say it enough. Like, just like you can never tell your loved ones you love them enough. I just really love you guys. Like, I really appreciate every single message that I get, the episodes that hit home with you, and the lessons that you're like, oh, I needed this. The topics that you're like, I'd love if you could dive deeper into the following. All of it is something that really is just so incredible to receive. And I want to say thank you, because my mission with Ambitious was really a matter of making this something that you could listen to every single Thursday and be able to get, little nuggets of wisdom for yourself, for your business, for strategies, for your mindset, for, those in connection to your business, your team, your partners, whatever it might be. And to use the insights of the topics we talk about here to really help you to go for those big, ambitious goals that you're going for. And so I want to say a massive thank you, because hearing from you really does allow me to be able to always curate our topics, our guests, our everything towards you. And so, as always, if you ever have any downloads or questions or follow-ups to today, I would love to hear from you as to, like, the push-pause pattern. Is there a stage that you're in right now? Is there a stage that you're like, oh man, I always am stuck here, or I always find that this is the one that gets me? And maybe any awarenesses that you had today. Maybe you're listening today and you started to realize, wait a second, okay, this is me, and I'm not doing this. You're going into 2025 and you're looking at, okay, like, I'm not going to maintain this cycle. I'm not going to, consistently flow through this. I'm deciding that I'm not going to be playing in these swings of business anymore, and I'm going to have consistent results that compound over time. All of that is possible for you. And so I'm very excited for you to have this awareness, and for also you to take that awareness and go see what change you can go make into your business today. And so with all that being said, I want to thank you so much for listening. I will see you, as always, next week. And as always, my girl, stay ambitious, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye.